Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vice President of North America, Alibaba Group, Lee McCabe, in discussion with Skift Executive Editor, Founding Editor, Dennis Schall.
Hello, everybody. Thanks, Lee, for being here.
Thank you.
Right after lunch here, so don't forget to put your questions in Slido, in the app, or on slido.com, and we'll use them at the end. So, Lee, help us understand Alibaba a little better. On Singles Day, 11/11, you guys did $25 billion in sales on that one day. What does that say about Alibaba and what's going on in tech in China?
Sure, we did. Look, it says a lot. I think to pull off something of that magnitude, you need two things. You need a big, engaged audience, and you definitely need a big, efficient ecosystem. I should perhaps start some context. Who's heard of 11/11 or Singles Day? If you can raise your hands. So only a few of you. Okay, so let me tell you about that first. So Singles Day is our Black Friday. So it's the 11th of November every year. The event starts the night before with a 4-hour TV show, one of the most watched TV shows in China. We fly in a lot of celebs from the US. It's a big deal. Then on the stroke of midnight, Jack starts the sale. And then craziness happens. So in 24 hours, Dennis is right, we did $25.3 billion worth of GMV in 24 hours.
GMV?
Sales. General merchandise volume sales. So everything sells. You name it. Clothing sells, tech sells. We sold a lot of travel during that sale. We sell a lot of cars during that sale. My probably favorite metric is we sold 100 Maseratis in the first 18 seconds of that sale. We generated 812 million orders, and still a staggering metric to me, 90% of sales were made on a mobile device, which shows you how far ahead China are in terms of mobile and mobile
So tell us how tech comes into play. I read that 95% of your customer service inquiries, I'm not sure if it was that day or in general, were handled by AI.
That's right. So I think China's ahead in a lot of ways. You know, before I joined the company, I was naive. I worked here for 4
I thought you were at Facebook.
I was.
So you were naive at Facebook?
I was here. I was naive about Alibaba and China.
Okay.
So if you'd have asked me if I knew a lot about the company, I would have said, yes, of course I do. Turns out I didn't. I knew 10%.
Okay.
If you'd have asked me where I thought the global hub of innovation and e-commerce was, I would have said it's here, without doubt. Mm-hmm. I was wrong. Being in China for nearly 2 years, I can tell you these Chinese companies are moving a lot faster than anyone in the US. AI is a good example. AI, commerce, mobile commerce.
In what way?
Block. More investment, innovating faster, more focus, putting more people on these projects. Mm-hmm. AI for us, we absolutely use it for customer service pretty effectively. We use it for personalization. Mm-hmm. You know, we have 670 million monthly active users. Every time they visit any one of our sites, we want it to be a better experience than the last time. So
well, tell us about that.
Yeah.
I mean, you really know your customer. You track them, e-commerce, shopping, obviously, entertainment, social media.
Yeah.
You track offline behavior.
That's right.
How do your data sharing practices differ from Western companies, and how does it enable your personalization efforts?
So you're right. I mean, ostensibly, we are a consumer insights company. We have a number of things. We have identity for those 670 million people. We know who they are. We also have a single sign-on across all our businesses and platforms. So we know what those people are doing. And that makes us valuable in 2 reasons. It makes us valuable for the consumer because we can personalize better than anybody else. We can make sure their journey across our platforms, every visit is better than the last one. And also it makes us a pretty good partner for businesses because when you come to entering China, we can help you enter China and give you better insight than you've ever had before.
So in what way? I mean, you say you can personalize better than anyone else. I mean, why? How?
The consumer insight we see, I mean, platforms, like you said, we cover commerce. We've got several marketplaces in China. About 80% of e-commerce goes through us. We have social media, Weibo, which is our Twitter, but bigger than Twitter. We've got the YouTube of China, Youku. We have a big travel business, Fliggy, a food delivery business, a health business, Alipay, big financial business, logistics business. So just the wealth of info we're getting allows us to put a picture together about that consumer and serve them better.
So do you not have to worry about the kind of privacy regulations that are coming out in Europe? I mean, is it totally different in China?
It's different, but regulation is still strict. I think there are a few things different. Regulation is still strict, and of course, we only collect data that we know we're going to provide value to the consumer with. So that's one.
What does that mean? What does that mean for your partners? Say Western companies that are doing business with Alibaba.
Yeah.
What sorts of information are you sharing with them?
Well, one, the transaction information. So Jack set this company up, never to build an empire. He set this company up for small businesses, and his vision was to create tools for small businesses. And that's our philosophy and mission. So transactional data, we're not looking to own the customer, we share that. But we can also help businesses tap into all that consumer insight we have on the platform. And the other difference of the Chinese consumer is I think they're much more likely to share data than other countries. They see the value in the data sharing, and they know what they're going to get back from that. If you saw the last Mary Meeker pack, she did a great section on China, and one of those slides had that propensity to share data, and China was way ahead of anybody else.
Talking about the consumer behavior of Chinese travelers, Chinese consumers, one thing you told me I thought was very interesting. You said that the way they shop is really very different than, in a Western travel company building an app, they're trying to simplify it, pare it down, make it simple. In China, the consumer wants a lot of detailed information, everything up front. You showed me a screenshot, it looked pretty cluttered. So is it sort of back to the future for Western companies trying to do business there?
It's certainly a steep learning curve. I've worked in e-commerce and marketing for quite a while. Everything I know I can leave at the airport when I go to China. Everything is different. The way you build a website is different. The way you merchandise it, payments are different, the lot. So for US businesses, you certainly shouldn't scrap what you have here, but you'd be mistaken if you think you can simply port that to China. You really can't. You have to start thinking again, thinking about the Chinese consumer, the Chinese business dynamics, and build something for them. And that's the mistake US companies have made in the past. They thought they could play the short game. China's not the short game. You have to go there with a long-term plan. You have to go there and think local. Hire local people. You can't just send people from the US. It won't work. You
need a tech intermediary in order to do business on Alibaba, right?
Exactly. We have, there's a whole ecosystem called TPs, or trading partners, which practically every US company will use, entering China and working with our platforms. And ostensibly, they're your outsourced e-commerce team in China. And the value of working with a local team is they know our platforms back to front, they know the Chinese consumer back to front, they're all over every opportunity. And that by far is the easiest way to enter China with Alibaba.
So you entered into a joint venture with Marriott last year. They reported in the first quarter double-digit growth in China. Any takeaways from that partnership yet?
Yeah, look, it's the start of the partnership. It's a great partnership, but look, spoiler alert, when you have a big active audience and you match it with great product, you will see success. And we've done that. So we're helping Marriott do exactly what I just talked about, understand the Chinese consumer, understand what kind of consumer is right for each of the Marriott brands. We're working with them on payments, so they can offer the Chinese consumer the right payment for them. Alipay, whether it be post-pay or pre-pay, we're working on with their loyalty programs, with merchandising. So a lot of good things, but we're still at the start of that partnership.
Right. So we're talking about e-commerce lessons. So one thing you're doing that's pretty interesting is what you call new retail.
Yeah.
And it's the way I understand it, it's a really new way of integrating online and offline. So tell us about that, and also, do you think that has any bearing on parts of the world, even in China? Traditional travel agencies are still pretty big. So how does that bear fruit?
It does. So new retail is a term that Jack coined about 2 years ago. We're investing a lot in new retail, a lot of offline properties. And at the heart of new retail, first and foremost, is the customer. We want to make a seamless experience for the customer. So no matter how they want to transact, whether it be desktop or mobile or laptop or offline, it should be a seamless merchandising experience, seamless cart experience, seamless loyalty, the lot. Now, out here, I think we're just getting grips with omni-channel across mobile and desktop, and that's happening now. But in China, we've moved on. And you have to, because if you want to look at the full business, out here, offline in retail is 85%. In China, it's 80%. So you need to have a view of the offline world. And we're doing that in a number of ways. So I'll give you a couple of examples. One is we have a big investment in Sunning, which is the Best Buy of China. And we simply take our user base and the data, and we match it with Sunning's. They have about 250 million loyalty members. We have 600 million active users. And what happens when we match that data, we can provide a better experience for the consumer than they've had before. So they can still come to our website and buy it, but now they can see inventory at their local Sunning store. So if they want, they can buy it online, they can pick it up, they can return it to the store. They can go to the store first and get the service, then return home and buy it online. If they're entering the store first, in the past, it would have been a cold interaction. Now the store knows me, so they know my previous purchases, they can serve me in a much better way. We're also working on grocery stores. We have over 50 Hema grocery stores now. We're bringing in products from all over the world. Everything's digitally priced. We can change the pricing according to demand and supply on the fly. It's a grocery store. It's also a restaurant. You can have all this fresh produce cooked in front of you. But the biggest innovation is it's also a fulfillment center. So we take a third of every store, we make it a fulfillment center. So if you live within a 5-kilometer radius of any Hema grocery store, you can order online and get your products delivered within 30 minutes. So that's killing it right now in China. To finish the question on the travel application,
Right.
Yes, but you'll see that in retail first. And I'll give you an example of that. So if you're a luxury retailer in New York, first of all, you can look at our audience and you can find the intenders. You know who's about to visit New York. You know who's booked travel.
So it's all about accommodating the Chinese traveler in North America, for example.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you can target them. You can offer them something special, a shopping experience in your store. They come to New York. They experience that. They check out and pay using Alipay. And now you've got their details. And you've got that consumer interaction and consumer knowledge. Once they return to China, if you have a Tmall store, you can further develop that relationship and target them even more and sell them more product.
Right.
So that's how the travel piece will start to play out in retail.
So talk about Fliggy. Fliggy is your travel platform.
Yep.
I read your most recent earnings call. I read a transcript of it, and Fliggy wasn't mentioned, travel wasn't mentioned. But you could read Google transcripts, and travel isn't mentioned either. So, you know, where would you place travel within the Alibaba ecosystem and China in general?
Well, that's very rigorous of you. If you'd gone back to the last earnings call, you'd have seen that travel was mentioned 33 times.
Get out of town.
And Fliggy 6.
Get out.
No, I'm joking. I have no idea. The truth is, look, we're a big company. Commerce is the biggest part of our business, so travel is not going to get the headline in these calls anytime soon, but you will start to hear it more and more. We talked a lot about our Marriott partnership. And even more gratifying, I'm hearing it more and more in partner calls. So Arnie Sorensen talked a lot about Alipay in the last Marriott earnings call. You will hear about that more and more with partners. The space where we play is the value in Fliggy is the ecosystem. So it's in the consumer insight. We don't just know the travel habits, we know everything about that consumer. So we should be able to provide a better service. We can also leverage the ecosystem. As we're not only selling travel, we can do the travel retail thing. So we can, customers who we know are only traveling to New York to go shopping, we can provide a much better experience because we have already retail partners in New York. We can leverage Tmall. So if somebody books an air ticket or a hotel on Fliggy, maybe we give them a 10% discount when they come back to Tmall.
Right.
We can leverage entertainment. Maybe we give them a subscription on Youku. So we have a lot more tools to play with.
Do you have a different customer than Ctrip, for example?
Well, I think we'll have a much younger customer. So for Fliggy, we're going after the millennials and the younger audience.
You have a voice assistant called Tmall Genie, right?
Yep.
Any plans to do anything in travel with that, or?
Eventually, still early. I think we're still in the same position as voice assistants out here, where they're taking off. It's already the best-selling one in China, but immediately the utility is home assistant.
Okay.
Retail will be next. Travel will get there eventually, but I think it's a while away.
Can you describe how you're working with tourism boards? I saw that WeChat, owned by your rival Tencent, they're helping Helsinki build a microsite to make recommendations to Chinese travelers. Are you ready to concede Finland?
No, we're also doing a lot with Finland and Helsinki, which apparently is a very popular destination for the Chinese traveler. For tourist boards, we do two things. One, we can offer them exposure to that audience and the customer interaction, the customer insight. So we have a lot of deals. Brand USA, we have a big deal with. They have a partner site within Fliggy for promotion. The second part, which is probably more helpful, is Alipay. So once that Chinese tourist gets to the destination, they're not bringing credit cards with them, they're not bringing cash, they're bringing a mobile phone. So you need to make it as easy as possible for that Chinese traveler to pay. So we're also working with the CVBs to make sure everywhere where that Chinese tourist touches in the city, they're accepting Alipay, which is a win-win for everyone.
Let's go to some audience questions here. Do your customers just assume there's no such thing as privacy?
No, I think they assume there is privacy, but the earlier question, I think their propensity to share data, the propensity to see value in that data is far more open than everywhere else.
Here's a good one. We hear a lot about Western companies talking about their Asia strategies, but what is Alibaba's Western strategy? And Lee, is your main job to be here in North America scouting acquisitions, or what?
No. So it's a good question. It's probably the number one question we get. Here's our objectives for North America. You know, we have a big base in China, 600 million plus monthly actives. To serve that audience is the number one objective, and we do it in a number of ways. So one, retail. We want to make sure every major US brand is selling on our platforms in China. You have a growing middle class, they want access to these brands. Two is travel. So when the Chinese tourist is thinking about flying outside of China, we want to make sure we have the best travel product available. And we're at the start of that with partnerships with Marriott. I think we've got great product in Asia Pacific. I think we can do better the rest of the world. So we're on that journey now, working on partnerships with airlines and hotels in the US and Europe. And the third one is Alipay. So once they actually get to these shores, we want to make sure that their experience is good and they can pay how they want to pay with mobile payments like Alipay. And
as far as entering the US to compete with Amazon, that's not on the horizon, right?
No. Look, again, I mean, Amazon have a great business out here in terms of retail. I think it would be a massive challenge to go against them. And it's not in our plan. Our audience is in China. We're happy creating this as a supply market and supplying products into China.
How much customer data does Alibaba have to share with the Chinese government in order to operate?
Good question.
Let's get political here.
I have no idea. None that I'm aware of is the answer.
What is your vision and ambition for Fliggy relative to Ctrip, China's largest OTA?
The ambition is to leverage the ecosystem and do things differently to Ctrip. You know, I don't think we'd be here if we just said we want to be the same as Ctrip. Of course, we want to offer all the travel products, the hotels, the airlines, and create those partnerships. But we want to offer more. In time, we want to offer a better service by leveraging the data and consumer insight that we have. And we also think we can offer a better service by leveraging all the products in our toolkit, the payments, the cloud, the data services, the marketing, and we'll build that over time.
WeChat Pay seems to be outpacing Alipay. Do you see this as a threat?
No, what we see so far, there are different usages across those platforms. WeChat tends to be more social P2P.
Right.
Alipay is more ingrained in the retail, the e-commerce, the payments.
Okay.
So I think you're going to have two very good payment systems that people will use.
Right. Great. We're out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Lee.